welcome back to another episode of Broker's Blueprint. I'm your host, Martino Picariello, alongside my co-host, Nick Gigante, and we're pleased to bring you an incredible guest and co-worker and co-founder and all that good stuff, Jimmy Roach.
Jimmy Roach.
What's up?
JR.
What's up?
I'm saying outside, it's like hanging out, with the boys on the afternoon, so this will be a nice one. Yeah, there's some shag carpet around.
Some shag carpet, too.
No, it's great to be here. Honestly, I want to tell you guys, I'm proud of you guys for, doing this and taking a step with this, because I've listened to every episode, and I think you're bringing great value. And, obviously, I was waiting for my time to be asked. I was not raising my hand, and it came, so I'm actually appreciative and happy to be here, fellas. So thank you. No, great job. This is awesome.
Thank you for your patience, because you were,
no, listen, rightfully so. You can't
every week. So when's my time? When's my time?
I'm like, oh, great episode this week, boys. But hey, listen, no, I think all good things, you got to wait for them, right? That's what we're here to do.
Amen.
So it'll be good, man.
Yeah, dude.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And there's just so much to unpack, but we were just talking about it a little bit just to keep the conversation so focused, because we could talk, and we have talked for 4 or 5 hours out on the golf course and in the office and all that stuff. But to give the most value, obviously, to the listeners and viewers, we want to keep this really focused, obviously, on the title, right? Broker's Blueprint. And to broker deals, you have to have relationships. Yeah. It's a relationship business. Everyone will say that. I think all sales really is, but specifically real estate. And this is why we feel so confident that we're not going anywhere, right? I mean, maybe you can replace people in Best Buy with the robot, right? Those sales reps, but someone who's, actively making the best or the biggest decision of people's lives, needs to be a real human with a heart who has feelings, who can really digest information and connect dots. And you've always been an expert at that and built a team in such a short span of time. And, to give people just a little bit of context on who Jimmy Roach is, not even 10 years in the business, and he's built the second largest team in all of Philadelphia. Ground up, if you will. Starting in South Philadelphia, Graduate Hospital, taking it to the next level and expanding into new construction in all corners of the city, from Germantown, Mount Airy, all the way south to South Philly, where the stadiums are. So you built it from the ground up on relationships, and we really want to understand your processes, your approach, and your unique proposition to a lot of the people you work with. Yeah. So let's just start one place, because that's a lot to unpack. Yeah. Let's go relationships. When you first got in the business,
yeah, of course.
And Nick, fire away with anything, obviously, but when you first got in the business, tell us a little bit about that journey. I know you guys met pretty early on.
Yeah. No, this is my mentor right here. That's one of the, it was one of the, right. And that's a common theme. I think a lot of us and a lot of the best brokers you see, and Nick can probably point his finger to a lot of them, but I think a lot of us hold in common is we have great relationships with other great brokers, other big people to learn from. So for me, I knew that getting into this business right away, that I had to find people, but I'm also a very particular type person. Like we always say, one of us, right? I want to relate and be around people I like to be around. I wanted to be motivated and, make that. And I think that's a big part of, part of the relationship building. And Nick was one of the first people that I met in this business. So I emulated a lot what I did then, and obviously still now. And a lot of my teachings, or a lot of the teachings in Nick's foundations. So it's, I think we learned that from, a very, very early age. Putting yourself in the right room and building the right relationships is worth everything. It's worth its weight in gold. And, your networks, your net worth is that cheesy cliche saying, but it all starts with the relationship and how you communicate with it. So
why Nick? Well,
I was going to say, it started back at, what was Coldwell Bankers? What was it?
1401 Walnut.
1401 Walnut.
1401 Walnut Street.
And
it's a great office.
Great office. And I was going to say, it's a lot of what fueled us up was looking at the people that were really crushing it. You know what I mean?
Who was it at that time?
At that time, it was Noah Ostrov, Maria Quattrone,
Sky Michael.
Shout out Sky. Another
Dave Snyder. Dave Snyder wasn't in Coldwell Banker.
Obviously, Mike, McCann.
Yeah, Mike McCann, all these guys. And there
was a lot of power brokers back then, there was a number of people that held a lot of market share.
Correct.
And a widespread, but that was really kind of an early age, Nick, I guess you would agree. There wasn't too many teams. That was kind of when things started kind of growing and forming more into that direction than what you see now. But there was a lot of people for us to look up to ultimately.
Yeah. And we used to have this board. When you would get things under contract, you'd take the marker and you'd put it up on the, on the board. And I remember, and I know you love like.
I still look at pictures of it on my phone.
Oh, do you?
Oh, I still
you have
have it.
pictures. Oh,
So,
wow.
Taylor, find the clip. We gotta find the picture. Put it up.
One of the things that I do here is but one of the things I like to go back and show is when I was getting into the business, exactly like Nick says, looking up to it, I would take, and it's funny, like I would take picture on Snapchat, so I want to sneak it real quick. I want to be that guy, but I wanted to look up to what I wanted to get to, and I'll tell you, I have it. And I have it circled. I think I sent it to my wife, but like I did take a picture of the leaderboard at one time when I was there. It's just so cheesy because I was so clueless because it was open sales. It means it was active listings, which you don't get paid on, right? You obviously want to be in the close department, but for me, that's exactly like Nick said. That's a culture. That's kind of the environment we grew up in, and I learned that a lot from there.
Mm-hmm. It was all about just how can we be successful? How can we go out there and really work. We worked a lot. Yeah. I mean, I remember running into you door knocking in Point Breeze. You didn't start in Graduate Hospital. You started in Point Breeze.
Point Breeze, guy? 1,000%, man. That was
everywhere.
Yeah. You don't know. You got to earn the right to cross the street.
Washington Avenue is like a barrier that is.
It was a very similar time. Once again, I learned a lot from Nick and his business, and Nick was the king there. So for me to be able to like go there, and he would do those things. He would door knock. So what do? I would just duplicate his success.
Success leaves clues.
Exactly right.
And just it's not a rocket science at the end of the day. It's doing the work that's 65% of the problem that people run into.
1,000%. But I think once again, going back to it, it's like that. I'm so grateful for that, and that's kind of ultimately what. And we talk about this a lot, Nick, what we're building over at Rarity, but we try to build that in our office. Like we want that. It's a good competitiveness and a healthy way for each person and every person to grow. And I think that's just a really conducive way of doing business and growing. So for me, like, it's funny, we talk about it all the time, but like even our Rarity boot camp is very similar to kind of the Cobalt ways of what we learned. And it's, those foundations, which we know now to be so important. That's what we're out there trying to build now and, try to deliver to the next level.
Yeah. Let's take a step back for the viewers who don't know you. Tell us a little bit about Rarity. We already know, but for people that don't know.
Yeah, no, of course. So Rarity Real Estate, like you said, is top team here in the city of Philadelphia. Nick's one of my partners there. I've been very fortunate, and one of the things I hate when people talk about my journey is they don't mention the great people that I was surrounded by during that growth. From Nick to Andrew and Marissa, Liz, Marco. I mean, you name it yourself. I mean, there's so many people that were part of that for me that I hate it because everything. That I build towards about everybody. And that's really for me what it's all about. And so, it's been, so going back to a Rarity top team here in the city of Philadelphia, but we've seen growth and success really quickly. We've achieved basically over $1 billion in sales in over 5 years. Top 25 team globally with Keller Williams International.
Globally.
Yeah, one of the top expansion teams in the entire country, and with our new expansion platform with Rarity OS, which is our new partnership. So we have agents in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and growing. Had another one, join on board today. So
which state is he in?
North Carolina. North Carolina. Yeah, it's been a really good. We have a lot of synergy down there. I'm starting to see, and a lot of people relocating and coming back up and forth from there. So a lot of Philadelphians in there too. One of my best girlfriends from growing up lives down there, and there's a lot of people that I know down there. So it's great for us. We're really just kind of focused in the areas in which we can do really well, and we'll let success breeds success there. So that's really like ultimately our goal with it. So yeah, man. And for me, it's just my main goal, my number one thing is to empower the entrepreneurial real estate agent. Like that's my goal. Every single day, it's to come in and to take the learning and the teaching and the knowledge and to pour it into people like Martino and the leaders like Nick, and help people like Martino grow, and the leaders like Nick, and build long, sustainable businesses. Yeah. I just think it's one of the most unique things that we have as real estate entrepreneurs, and I think it's a coveted thing and built the right way. It's amazing.
It's hard to feel it in a lot of places because I've been to a few. I've been EXP. I was with a couple of brokers in Center City before I met Nick, and obviously eventually met you. So it's intangible and it's invaluable. So thank you.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that.
We work hard. Well, thank you. I mean, both of you guys, because it's, once again, it's not without me. One person can't build a culture. It takes a group, and it takes a bunch of like-minded people, and culture production, baby. That's what we like to build.
Absolutely.
That's what we like to see. So.
Absolutely. To get it back, I appreciate the background. And I know the viewers kind of have that context now. I mean, back to relationships, right? Finding those like-minded people. What was your approach usually to just the first steps? I mean, let's just start kind of like right from square one. You know that Nick's like you. How do you get, kind of, what's the initial conversation look like? Do you remember that initial conversation on your end?
Yeah, no, I do. And what I kind of figured out was it was all, it's, and our world's going in that direction. It's all data related. Mm-hmm. It's all data. And it was all about, for me and then like coaching other agents, it's about your CRM. It's about your book of business. It's like every person you meet, you need a database that person, and then basically database what they're looking for, so that once you get that opportunity, an investment opportunity, you're just going through like a stockbroker in essence and just calling, hey, do you want this opportunity that just came across my desk? Hey, do you want this opportunity? And then you basically just play matchmaker, and that was really. And then really the hard work was finding the deals, because then once you build up your buyer pool, then you're selling them, and that kind of leads to like the technique that we always did, which was kind of like, and what we're calling land to leverage, land to leverage, where we're basically finding the land, looking at the zoning, understanding what could be built there. There could be a garage that's sitting on a 20,000 square foot lot. Mm-hmm. That is zoned residential, or it's zoned commercial, but there's a couple other, use variances that were granted in the neighborhood. So we know that there's,
higher probability maybe of
getting that variance. And then we're selling it to that builder, who's then in turn saying, we'll give it to you for the out sale. So you're constantly kind of creating this deal flow of selling the property and then having multiple properties to sell thereafter.
I called it the real estate annuity, because what you were doing there is you were planting seeds in your future business. And that was the one thing that I was looking at when I was going, was like, oh my God, my pipeline down the line, I have $50 million of new construction coming up. I know I'm not going to be able to build that. I got to attract people that I know want to sell this product and can sell it at a really high level. So like, that was the first thing for me. What attracted me to Nick, like just truthfully, was just camaraderie. Like I just tell he was just one of us, right? So I just know he was a younger guy. He was in a similar business, dressed like me, whatever, right? So I knew there was going to be a connection there. But ultimately for me, I was just a sponge. So I just sat out front of his office. That was like kind of my bullpen. He had an office. He was one of the cool guys. He was producing. He was
like
on the board.
Step up. It's
it was like, So I was out there with the minions. We were grinding our way up. But like, I wasn't going to put my desk in front of somebody else's room or office that I didn't want to learn from, right? So, and Nick was always open. So like, and I'd be that annoying guy sometimes. Hey, what was that address you were talking about? He's like, But hey, but at the end of the day, I was able to start returning value back to Nick, and then we really became strength and ultimately partners. And we look back there too, I
want to mention two people that come top of mind for me. One, Phil Masano, who we had on the show. Great brain. He's the guy who I sit across from in the bullpen, thinking, if I'm thinking of like where you guys were, that's where I'm at right now with him. And we're always feeding deals. Who'd you just talk to over there, and what was he looking for? I got something, here you go. Vice versa. And then second person is Marco DeGabriel. So to your point, when you find that land opportunity and you're like, hey guys, I have this opportunity, to people that you already have relationships with through cold calling, through mailers, through door knocking, right?
Yeah.
He's able to not only sell them the deal, but be a hand holder through that process of, hey guys, here's what buyers are looking for. I'm actually shopping with buyers in new construction right now, and they love these finishes. They love this kind of layout. And not only can we provide the value of the deal, but provide value of what to build. Yeah. And then obviously giving the guidance on the sale price, what we can do to market it effectively to get that sale price. Like those two guys, and we have both of them on the show. So if you haven't seen those two episodes, Marco DeGabriel and Phil Masano, go check them out now before we even finish in this episode, because they'll give you all the context as to the ways in which we're describing here, so we don't have to go too into depth, because we already know those ways from them. We spent an hour with Phil, spent an hour with Marco. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so it's the deal, it's the hand holding, and once again, it's the environment you're putting yourself in, putting your desk in front of someone else's. That is going to create synergy with what you're looking to build. So those are the first steps. And I guess to take it another step, so you're starting to get a lot of deals under contract where the annuities are in the pipeline. You see that, all right, we sold this one piece of land that's going to have 20 new construction townhomes, if not more, whatever it may be. What's that next step look like now? Like, how do you, I guess, maintain the relationship? How do you continue to just send deals? Like what's kind of in your head to like keep this momentum going?
Well, I think you ultimately need to understand what you want to build. And that was what's really important. I think in the beginning, I knew I kind of wanted to build something a little bit bigger because as I started to grow and share my success, I started enjoying other people's wins a lot more. And that happened pretty early for me. I'll be completely transparent, to where that flow of me getting a deal under contract was quickly replaced by seeing one of my agents get a deal under contract. So for me, like that at an early stage in the business and in my career, I kind of knew where my path was, and it was kind of more towards focusing on building the business aspect while still maintaining and growing my sales, but growing the sales business through others, right? And, ultimately, which turned into people like yourself, right? Absolutely. And being able to, really leverage strong relationships that I built over time and put great people and talented resources like you and Marco and Phil and Nick and different people like that in certain places. So for me, the best part is I still get to maintain those relationships, but I also get to watch other people build and create and craft their own. And that's what's been really so special and unique about the whole journey and what I love most about it, truthfully.
And I think you get to a point where you start to grow and you're like, I don't have enough capacity
That was
to service this business. And that's when you get to that point of, the journey as an agent, where if you're really successful, you start to see, if I don't start to create leverage through others, then the quality of my business is going to go down. And that's just not an option. Right. So it's, who do I need to get in here to help me out? Typically, the first move was always, we're taught, get an assistant. Yeah. And it's hard for that first, when you first start out with an assistant, it's letting go. Yeah. Where you're a control freak to a certain degree. We're entrepreneurs. We want to make sure that, the same conversations that we're having with our clients, that any person that we're working with or that's working for us is having that, that's exuding the same type of temperament that we exude.
Yeah, and it just reminds me of like our script practice back in like the Hunter days, which we still have Hunters obviously, but like the OG Hunter days when I first joined the team, it was hours you spent with us going over scripts and tonality. Which is like going back to communication. That's how you build relationships. It's like, dude, the tonality and the way you say things is triple, quadruple. It's 10x more important than just what you're saying.
Yep.
Correct.
So I just as a product of it, I want to stay like, it wasn't like, hey, here's a script, good luck, you'll figure it out, I trust you. It was like, hey, let's book some time. Let's do this in the mornings and let's make sure we're fired up and ready to go. So when 8 o'clock hits, we don't have any doubt in our mind we can service these clients, which is always the end goal. Yeah, always the end goal.
And that was like the importance at Rarity at Hunters, was creating this culture of, we got your back. We're going to show you basically the formula to be successful. But after that, then it's up to you. Right. There's certain things that you got to do, your scripts, your calls, your lead gen, how you're going to set your appointments, what you're going to do when you set your appointments, how you're going to follow up. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to either break through or not break through. And, I think we have a great, amazing group of people that are in the building. Everybody kind of has their own niche. And it's good to see.
I think it's a really good way to put it, is that each person has their own communication style. Like each person has their own tonality, and and there's always the the brash, loud drivers that you're going to see in any sales business and any entrepreneur and any business like that. But that being said, too, what we see and what's been so awesome too for me and challenging as well is to see other people and see how they communicate and also try to match that and mirror that level, but also learn from it, and be like, wow, like just having a conversation with that person and be like, just taking away that, I learned so much from just working with people every single day, from just different communication styles and things like that. So it's things that I take out though, and I bring and I build into my every single day, my business, my repertoire. I mean, this is just kind of part of who I am now. So I'm always cluing into those cues and looking at that stuff. And it's great. It's one of the things I love most.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to really have you on here today for, is like your style that you've handcrafted through Nick, through maybe myself a little bit, through Marco, through, Noah Ostroff, those names that you mentioned earlier. What have you taken and how have you brought it and made it your own? And what would you say is your communication style? Is it that drive, or is it like just kind of matching and mirroring at all times? Like, what would you say is who's Jim Roach when it comes to communication?
I would say, you know, I don't want to say it's my style, right? Because it's not, but I do think it's a blended approach, you know, and I do think a lot in life is kind of, you know, being able to match people and understand the element and the environment they're in. The one thing I'll tell you that I just try to understand when I walk into any room is just who the people are and what the energy level is, so I know what I need to bring and where I need to be. So, like, for me, that's just ultimately the first thing I understand, like, who is it? Who am I talking to? And, you know, and we see this all the time, but you ever go from talking a high energy person to a low energy person? And then back to a high energy person and your mood swinger, by the end of it, you're exhausted. Your brain just does not go that high and that low that quickly, right? No. So it's one of those things that I recognize. I try to block that. Like, if I'm talking to some high energy people, training agents, I'm putting that all in one big block. So that after that, I'll take a little break because that's like big. And so matching that stuff and mirroring that stuff is tough. But that's really what I would say is my style, is just kind of understanding the person from the other side. And then ultimately trying to understand what their real objective is and then delivering value, Martino. I mean, that's my communication style. It's just understanding it and delivering value. Yeah. You know,
I think it's coming from a consultant type angle. You know, I think that was always the value proposition, you know, especially with the new construction. It's like, we'll sell you the land. We'll tell you what could be built here. We'll tell you how to build it. We'll tell you what finishes to put in there. We'll tell you what price it's going to sell at, where you could basically figure out what your return is. And it's like, who doesn't want, why wouldn't I work with this gentleman?
Something that my first ever broker said to me was with the EXP. Said, the more information you have, the better decision you can make. That's actually always something that I say to this day, 4 years later. And it's, and once again, figuring out the objective, the outcome, and working back from that.
A new construction, development is such a perfect aspect to talk about, like, and being a chameleon in your business. We talk about that all the time, right? Being able to be a chameleon, walk on site with the guys that are drywalling and fit in, walk into the business meeting with the sales manager and deliver the sales pitch, you know, and be able to sit with the girl who handles marketing, you know, and everything from all those aspects. Just being able to be a chameleon, I think, in your business and adapt to that is so important. But I learned that very early on in new construction, because the site managers to the sales guys, like, they're on the same team, but they're really not, you know, like, and my job ultimately is to be the chameleon between the two. And so I'm wearing multiple different colors when I'm doing my job, and, you know, taking what he's saying and making sure that he's getting it the right way, and just making sure the communication flows so that my job is getting done at the highest level. So that's sales. I think that's ultimately kind of like understanding that aspect of things, but it comes with experience and being in the situation, you know. And once again, going back to sitting in front of Nick's office when I started, like, just putting yourself in the element and just absorbing those things and learning from it is how you're going to get there.
Yeah, and I see so many people, including people that I work with closely, try to just kind of learn things the hard way and go through them all themselves, which is valid. Sometimes, like, my dad would tell me, don't drink, don't do drugs. I had to drink and do drugs. No, I didn't want to do them, you know. It's just the way it is. But if you can be someone, like, I think you did a great job of this, Nick, you obviously did too, and I'm trying to do the same thing, is like, do I have to reinvent the wheel, or can I maybe just be like, all right, he's been through that situation, this is how he felt, and all right, I'm going to avoid that. I'm not going to put myself in those situations.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things, like, a lot of it, once again, we're salespeople, a lot of us business people, we're hard-headed. We're going to learn by banging our head against the wall and being like, oh, wow, that's hard. That's just kind of sometimes how we have to do it. But I think the smart ones are the ones that figure that out at a very early age, Martino. And I think you do a really fantastic job of being able to do that and be in many rooms and take many perspectives and frame it to your own. Because that's, I think, what is best, because you have to take everybody's, you could take a little bits and pieces, but if it's not you, it's not you. If it's not going to be genuine at the end of the day, the people on the other side of the table will know that. So you just have to see what's out there, adapt it, and then ultimately bring it with you and, you know, make it your own. That's really how I believe about it.
Know your strengths.
Yeah,
for sure. Yep. I was talking to Jack Delaney in the office. Shout out Jack. I mean, new agent in the office. Incredible guy. And we're like doing role play every morning now for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
And I'm like, I catch him all the time. I'm very hard on him, and he loves it. I'm like, man, put the script down, dude. Just connect, because when you get in front of people, like, he's like, probably the most genuine teddy bear you'll ever meet. And he's, just to give you guys a picture, Taylor, put a picture of Jack up, maybe 6-pack ripped, just a big giant
former steam fitter, steam fitter.
Exactly. That's a huge part of his character. And I'm like, man, like, stop trying to sound like Marco, or stop trying to sound like Phil. Stop trying to sound like me sometimes, because I'll run through these questions. Like, just get you in front of these people, and I know that once you do that, it's just game over.
Well, here's a perfect example of that. Jack's got 6 deals pending right now,
Yeah,
right? So he's figuring it out, right? And he's crafting it by being around people like you and doing that. And that's what, for me, like, that's what I like that. Once again, winning through others. That's what I love to see. So, like, great people like him now winning by just ultimately, too, becoming a better person. I think a lot of the skills that we're applying in this business is just going to make you a better person overall in life and make your life better. It's like when you read, like, Never Split the Difference, and then you go and you apply that to, like, you're thinking you're reading it for business, but you're trying to get a hotel upgrade and you use it or something. It's just it's the way that you're able to apply it across multiple lines is just like that's what's so awesome about the skill of communication and being able to do it at a high level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny how I've said this all the time. I said it to you the other day. I'm like, I got into real estate obviously thinking like I wanted to be a salesperson, but now I realize like there's so many other opportunities that I can get into while still doing what I love. Like you still sell, but now you can build through others. Yeah. You're doing your own portfolio. You're building these commercial investments. Like you just picked up an incredible deal through an agent that you used to train, coach and consult, Jesse Vanderbo, which we probably should have him on at one point too.
We should.
An incredible guy, but like, yeah, it's just amazing how you can kind of get into this and then you grow as a person and everything else around it just like seems to work in the environment, the solar system that you create, and the stars align.
It's entrepreneurship, man. Yeah. And I think that's the people that get into our business and understand that are the ones that craft long careers and build beautiful lives, that life by design. Like that's what I know we talk about and I say all the time, like that's what I'm chasing and that's what I'm building towards, the life by design, but it's my design. It's what I want. And that's what this business does. It's so unique in that way that you can take it in so many angles. I heard something the other day. It's like you ask anybody these days, everybody's in real estate, but because there's so many different ways and aspects, investor, designer, marketer, this agent, title, like you name it, there's so many different aspects. So number one, most importantly, take your advice from the right line of guidance giver.
Kind of like you did. Right?
You're right. Yeah. Right. But, number two, it's that's just what's so unique about it is you can build an avenue and a life, well beyond anything you ever dreamed. And we're all blessed and fortunate, man.
Amen, dude. Yeah. Amen. So
I would say that's the reason why mentorship in real estate is so important, because it's such a wide industry where you can go in so many different directions. You could be running around, with a chicken without a head, just because you don't know where to go, what niche to go into. And that ultimately is why, as a young agent, you should be joining a team. You should be looking towards a team where you like the culture, where you think you fit in, where that culture, you will be a catalyst to your business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because if you're just going in there and you know nothing about real estate, you will be a ton of opportunity costs. Yeah. You're going to be just spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was lucky enough to find you, and then it just snowballs once again. Yeah. Just the momentum builds. Your world changes pretty quickly.
Well, you're attracting people. I think like me and Nick were very similar and had a lot of like qualities, right? And that's who you just end up attracting more of. So that snowball just keeps getting bigger and that world just keeps getting bigger. And that's what I love about Rarity. And that's the one thing that I think is so powerful about Rarity OS is like, talking to a partner and you be able to pick up the phone and try to get a unique perspective on marketing a property from another agent who sold over 100 homes every single year. I mean, having that network and getting a different perspective or a different outreach, but also networking, masterminding, picking up skills and habits from them by just having them in your world. Like that is so powerful. So I love that we have it here. I love being able to build it and give it to people around the country that have no aspect or no ability to get it. So really for me, it's just making sure we just keep finding and building and delivering upon it and attracting those people into our world.
100%. I mean, yeah.
I was going to say, I think that's a good segue. Where do you see, first of all, touch on the Rarity OS.
Yeah.
But where are you seeing the market go?
Yeah.
Where are you seeing the agent, as a business go in the future?
Yeah. I mean, it's, so to tap a little bit into the OS side, really what OS is, Rarity OS is, it's our expansion team around the country, but it's a unique expansion team in the setting of Rarity is completely behind the scenes. And Martino knows this, but I'm very big on the individual agent or individual small team building their own brand. So really, it's us empowering agents around the country that need the operating system of a top 25 team across the country that's continuously innovating for the future.
And what's part of that team?
Yeah.
Just to give a little peek behind the curtain, like I already know the aspects of it, but marketing.
Oh yeah. So,
sales,
we really highlight in 5 real features. It's like marketing and branding, it's CRM, it's listing management, documentation support and prep work, and then training, and then CEO and data reporting. So it's like really it's lead generation, it's tracking your numbers, and it's basically building and marketing and branding your business. And that's the aspects that I see as the future of the business. And to kind of piggyback why we built OS is, and Nick knows this because you do as well being there, but Nick having a really behind the scenes look of it is we see the transition of the real estate agent changing. And it's just obvious. When I got into this business, I saw it from a very early age. Like when I came in, Zillow was just starting to kind of like really rip leads and doing, things like that. So when I got in, tech was a disruptor that I was always concerned about. So I always built ahead of. My number one baseline was, how do I beat the buyer to Zillow? Like if there's any agent out there that's building a business right now, the one way you can consistently innovate and think ahead is like, how can I beat the buyer to Zillow? If you can always think that way and do that, you'll be successful. Right. So that's ultimately what I'm trying to do, but for buyers and sellers and leverage agents, right? There's a lot more aspects that go into it, but really what it's about is building leverage for agents. We're giving them our operating system here. We're white labeling it specifically to them. So whether you're in, Newtown, Pennsylvania, or you're in Okeechobee, Florida, we can give you the same level of business and the same service that's branded specifically to you, but the systems and the automation behind it are leveraged from my tool and my system, which sells, over 500 plus homes a year.
Yeah, and what I've loved and what I remember most when we first actually had like a chat when we were merging was you came into our office and you were like, this is one part of the many things you mentioned, I only want you guys out on showings, inspections, and at closings. Yep. Everything else is automated. Everything else is automatic. And honestly, I heard that and I was like, that's like my favorite parts. Yep. That's what I came here to do, right?
That's the sales aspect of the business.
Yeah, I didn't come here to draft contracts as much as that could be fun, but for some people. But I didn't come to draft contracts. I didn't come to manage the sale if it's a 3-month or 6-month closing, especially with new construction. Yep. That whole process and having the leverage to just, hey, we got that. Don't worry about that. Keep going out there and selling. Yep. That's what's been the biggest support for me and allowed me to grow my business and triple it every single year since knowing you. So not any like small feat though. There's a lot that goes into that, and it goes back to relationships once again and bringing in the right partners like Allison, and Liz.
Exactly, and that was going to be my next segue, and it was like the biggest part of my job now is building the relationships and communicating with people to deliver the same expectations that I promised you in that room every single day. Forever, and that's every morning, that's what makes me up and drives me. So, the people, if you see the people that are running and really like behind the scenes of this organization, they're all very similar and like me. They all have similar values. They're all similar people. Like, Liz and Marissa are like my 2 younger sisters I never wanted, right? But now I'm stuck with. I'm dead serious, It is what it is. But like that's the truth. And so for me, I'm able to communicate that with them, but they're also able to see the vision, but build their own into it too, which is so cool. And it's so aligned with mine because we're once again thinking along the same lines. So it's that's been just so incredible, but it's communicating with them and, matching that, mirroring that. It's been a journey. It's been one of the things that I consistently work on. I don't think I'm ever going to be, the best at it, but I will always keep trying to do everything I can to get there.
You've always upgraded mentors, right? Still, obviously, Nick's an incredible first mentor, but now it's Gary Keller, right?
Yeah.
It's guys that are running these.
It's an Nick.
Yeah. Who's better?
My 2 sit out front of both their office. Gary sits out front of Nick's office.
Exactly. But it's like you've never, and that's one thing that I also like. Just like you're like, I'm just gonna keep going out there and getting relationships with them, and while you guys keep growing this, and then eventually you guys are gonna be chasing them, and the other Garys of the world, the other entrepreneurs out there that are driving billion-dollar businesses, which now you've been able to create. So it's pretty special. And it's like, who's next for you, right? Like, what's a relationship that you kind of like would love to form at this point in your career now that you kind of have so many incredible ones?
It's a great one. I think the answer is whoever can make the biggest impact on me. I'll be completely transparent with you. I was going through my head. I'm like, so I instantly went to like cool people, celebrities, and things like that.
Mark Cuban,
like, very cool. There's actually a casting in Shark Tank in Philly the next couple of weeks.
Brother,
Time for us to pull all of our crazy ideas together.
And they just get
Hey, listen, I'll take it.
booed out of the building. Like, no, I'm telling you, it's a good idea.
for this reason, I'm out. And Jim's like, no, you're making a big mistake.
Big mistake.
I'm going to be sitting where you are in 10 years.
I'm pretty sure they threw out the person that invented the ring bell. So
That
there's definitely people that
Dude, the
that
amount
they've
of
thrown out that they probably shouldn't have.
the amount of content you see on Instagram from Ring doorbells right now is ridiculous. Big L, huge L.
Huge.
But I think it's where your mind goes. If I'm hearing you correctly, it's not like I'm looking for someone. I'm not looking. It's not like a what. It's like who are they as people?
Yeah.
It could be an attorney. It could be a lender. It could be an architect. It could be another developer. It could be someone who's building a tech company. It could. But you're like, if they have the same values and they have a vision, I want to help them, and they can help grow what you're doing.
I do think I'm such a firm believer in the saying of your life can change in just a phone call, both good and bad, right? Truthfully, it's just like, but it's in a life of opportunity. So for me, like that's how I'm chasing and going after it, and I'm always looking for the next positive relationship in my life. So like that's why I still love doing what I'm doing and meeting people. But for me, it's just like, as much as I can, and as much as I can consistently handle too. That's another thing I have to be realistic with. Like you can't make an impact on everybody, and as many people, but I think, the key people, the ones that are important to you that you're going to keep growing on. And, but that's what's exciting for me for the future, man.
You say this word a lot in our meetings, and you mentioned a few times already in the pod, but like you're chasing these people. And you had this one really cool conversation with me, and you asked me one really cool question. I don't know if you remember it, but you were like, when do you run faster? When you are being chased or when you're the one doing the chasing? And I was like, yeah, when I'm being chased, I'm running for my damn life. Yeah. And that always stuck with me. Yeah. And I've always kind of felt like, all right, I'm the one that needs to keep driving the thing forward to keep that gap from me and the people chasing me versus I'm nipping at someone's heels and I feel like I can't catch up. That's such a defeating feeling. So one thing that really stuck with me that I think that's what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, like you're chasing that because you want to keep ahead of the gap, ahead of Zillow, ahead of the curve. Yeah. And it's pretty cool.
Creates a more predictable business too. Right. You don't want to be running a reactive business. You want to be running a predictable business.
Yes.
Once again, going back to you, Nick, like you were very always big on that. Like, and that's the thing is like us as agents are always just so reactive. Ball drops, they try to jump. Ball drops, they try to jump. So that's the thing that I try to make sure we stay focused on is, we always say like squirrel,
that's squirrel. I said that this morning.
People go like, they
buzzed, and I was like squirrel. And like that's how I felt.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Once you can start to master that, you'll start to see those little improvements and little things that'll just help you along your career. But at the end of the day, man, this is all part of your journey. I think you just have to understand that and expect that, and embrace it. Like, like I said, your life can change in just one phone call. You're one phone call away. And whether that's picking it up or one coming in, regardless, it won't happen unless you do it, so pick it up and go try to make it happen. So that's the way I kind of look at it, embrace the challenge, embrace the journey. If you come into this business with the right mindset, with the right way to look at things and just right overall outlook, I think you're going to be in a, great position for the rest of your life, truthfully.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the first piece that you'd give to anybody? What's the first part of the mindset that you need to have? I mean, we talked about environment, putting yourself in the right, putting yourself at the right desk in the right spot in the office, partner with the right people. Like, where would you say you start for anyone that's just getting into it?
Nick brought it up, but it's the mentor aspect. It's get yourself in the right room, Martino. Like get yourself with, whether it's a team. Like I run a team, I run a big business, but I would tell you to come join Rarity. But the fact is if whether it's with me or somewhere else, put yourself with somebody that you can see yourself becoming. That you can see yourself becoming. That's the most important thing.
And I want to take it back because I've asked this question to Devin Denofa, who you brought into my world as well, another coach of mine. And he said, if you don't know what you want, find out what you don't want first.
That's it. Yeah.
That's great.
And just get a list of that together. And then boom, you can start to see, all right, here's what I do want, top 3, and go after the number 1 thing and just kind of go down that list until you figure it out. Sometimes it takes 1 minute, and sometimes it takes 1 month, sometimes it takes a year. But if you're committed, it'll always find you.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
Myself.
And I think through the process, it's also having resilience and you know what I mean, and having a thick skin, because you could know where you want to go, you could have your goals, you could have your mentors, but ultimately, it's gonna be your own journey, and you're gonna have ups, and with the ups, you're gonna have downs, especially in our business, and you got to just be resilient, and you got to just take it on the chin and keep it moving forward.
Yeah, a winner is a loser who never gave up.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say is, like, now that you guys have, one question that I have is, because maybe I'm going through a transition right now, is how do you go from someone, the mentee, to the mentor? And we talk about imposter syndrome sometimes. We talk about these really big growing pains. Like, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned from maybe sitting in front of Nick's desk, right, to now, you know, having people sit outside your office?
For me, I think I would say is just, you know, it's at your knowledge level, and just give what you can always get, or, you know, or what you always want, right? Give what you want. So for me, it was like, if you always want more guidance and more leadership up top, make sure you're giving it to the people that are asking it for you here. You know, you give what you get. And that's, for me, I think, important. That's what I always try to focus on, is just like delivering it back, because I always put myself in those people's shoes. You did the same thing, Jim. Like, you did the same thing. So, and that fact is I'm loyal to myself, and so I'm taking those questions, I'm answering them, I'm giving back. So it's give and get, for sure.
It's pretty cool. And then at what point, I asked you this in a meeting the other day, like, at what point did you both feel that you needed the leverage? You know, when you were feeling maybe a little spread thin, or like, what was the tell sign? You know, Nick.
I think once you start realizing that the quality of your business is going down just because you do not have enough time in the day,
It's your customer service.
that's where you're like, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help. And next step is getting the help.
Yeah. How's the what's that process look like? I mean, interviews are kind of
It's about getting it. Yeah, it's interviewing an assistant, creating a job description for that assistant. What is she or he going to be doing? That's going to be all the things that you don't want to do.
Yep.
That would free your time to focus on your strength, which is selling real estate, underwriting deals, lead generating. And that's why the Rarity OS is such a great product, because you get, you know, part of building a business is overhead. You know what I mean? And this amount that you have to pay every month, that really is inhibiting sometimes, you know. So it's good to be able to have something to leverage off of, where you're getting the economies of scale of a massive business, lower cost, where you're not, you know, that was again, running the business, the sales business is an economies of scales business. You need a lot of agents to make, you know, to make it work. So there's agents are going to feel that, where they get to a messy middle, where it's like, I'm either going to, you know, I got to get more out of the agents that I have, or I have to build a business to you know, a larger business. But with the product that we have, it gives the ability to kind of get over that messy middle.
As a user, it's like, also, it's not an overhead for me. It's a cost of sale at the end of the and that's beautiful. I mean, if you don't want to take on overhead, let these guys take it on for you, right? It's not easy to do, and that's where the value is just, you know, what you've already built. Yeah,
and that's what's great about it, is now we're in a position in which we have a lot of leverage in our business and our power, where we can pick the right partners and pick the right agents. And, you know, just like everybody else, there's going to be mistakes and people that, you know, aren't the right fit, but we figure that out quickly, and we grow through that, and we're always looking to implement and grow. And, you know, every single day for us is just, how can we get better? 1% every single day, man.
Yeah.
Last thoughts.
Yeah.
What else?
What do you got, Jimmy? Any last remarks?
Well, listen.
Where can people find you first off?
Well, yeah, no. My big goal, I got to get over 1,000 Instagram followers on my. You know, I'm on my jimroach.re, my little verified blue check mark. It's been great. You know, I just figured it now was the time. So jimroach.re on Instagram. Obviously, all the other social medias, Facebook. Do have a YouTube. You're going to start seeing a lot of the content coming out there. I've been doing a lot of just videos, trainings, leverage things, like really trying to give value, tools, and resources to real estate agents and obviously entrepreneurs. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. I'm looking for my predictions. Or is that what you guys are asking me? Like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
With what?
That's
Well, let's go interest rates.
Oh, interest rates. All right. Yeah. What do you think?
Interest rates. Housing market. Housing market
and how do
prediction.
you how do you see the interest rates either going up or down?
Yeah, I mean, I see interest rates starting to come into play, but not probably for another 6-ish months or so. I do think that you're starting to see some impacts of the economy. I think we have to start seeing some real data, start seeing the transition of things, start seeing the impact of really a new administration here. So I don't think they're going to react too quickly because things are still very slippery. It's very volatile right now, and they're not fools to that. There's businessmen running this country right now, in my opinion, and I think they're looking at it that way. So I do think we do start to see that trend, but I don't think it is till later in this year. I do think this year is going to be a whole lot of what it was last year and whole lot of what it was the year before that, but just with more people, with more optimization, like more ability to look ahead and think like, hey, better days and brighter days are ahead, refinances are ahead, et cetera. So I think market's going to be basically what it was in that setting. But I do see next year and the year after, I just think we're not going to know when it's going to happen. That's the thing. We're always we're always kind of the last ones to know in the setting out there. Like we're just going to feel it. It's going to be like, dang, I wish I got myself, all the people that are going to be like, oh, I wish I set myself up. I'm so busy now. Like this is like, these points are when you're working on your business or building your business if you're not busy. But I'll tell you, every one of us, all of our agents are busy. There are still people buying and selling in the city of Philadelphia, out in the main line, in New Jersey, every single day. Go get your unfair share. That's what I always went after, man. Go get your unfair share. Me and Nick, like always, were just doing deals. Don't matter. Christmas, summer, New Year's, market's slow, market's hot, market's busy. So like, that's my prediction, but my prediction is I'm just going to have a kick-ass freaking year as I do every year. I'm going to grow. I'm going to keep breaking records. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because business is normal for people like us. That's our approach. That's our look at things. So
100%. Dude, thank you.
Thank you
the
guys.
time, the insight, just the raw Jim Roach. We always appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's been great. Like I said, I'm proud of you guys. Happy to be here.
Dude,
Thankful for the invite.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Listen, if you liked this episode, you thought it was informative, please like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
See you soon.